Accountability is the bedrock of effective governance, especially in matters of national security. Human rights activist Femi Falana SAN is calling for sanctions against state attorneys general who have failed to prosecute suspected terrorists, bandits, and other violent criminals arrested within their jurisdictions. Falana argued that the Attorney General of the Federation in 2016 gave the fiat or authority to all state attorneys general to prosecute terrorism, which is a federal offense. Speaking at the 2025 International Human Rights Day organized by the Nigerian Bar Association's Human Rights Institute, Falana also advised the federal government to embrace and deploy technology rather than focus solely on recruitment of more soldiers and police officers. Meanwhile, the federal government has reinstated its commitment to strengthen security around schools and safeguarding students and citizens across the country. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Muhammad Idris, described the rescue of some abducted students of St. Mary's Catholic Primary and Secondary School in Pakri in Niger State as a moment of profound relief for the nation. All right, two stories in one. But how achievable will you describe, this view by the human rights activist Femi Falana SAN?
Well, it is unfortunate that 9 years after the then Minister of Attorney General gave instructions and directives to state government to prosecute those people that are found to be terror suspects. It's very unfortunate that the elite in Nigeria today, when you really look at they are the real problem of the country. Why are they problem? If a commissioner is in charge of a state and you have found some people to be allegedly involved in sponsoring terrorism and you are finding it very difficult to try them, you are also telling them that many others can still continue because if there is no punishment, there cannot be no discouragement for others who are willing to do. So how come they are finding it very difficult? Punishing people or arranging people for terrorism should not be mixed with politics at all. There's nothing, because a terrorist does not ask question whether you belong to a party A or party B. A terrorist wants to kill anybody. So I don't know why civil servants, commissioners for justice or attorney generals, I find it very difficult to take a decision to prosecute those who have been found to be culpable of sponsoring terrorism. So, and we are talking about the fact that we want to stop this thing. So if there's no punishment, what do you want to use as incentive to prevent others from doing the same thing? There's no deterrent in any form whatsoever. Absolutely. So it's unfortunate. 9 years after, since 2016, 9 years they have been unable to arraign anybody. Where anyway, I say, okay, you say it is culpability on behalf of the elite. Yes, it's culpable. If a commissioner is finding it difficult to arraign people that have been found to be suspects in crime, then this is highlight culpability.
I mean, Biko, Tony Abbas has raised a very, very key issue. Now, looking at what Femi Falana say, okay, Biko, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, now I wanted to ask that what could be responsible for the reluctance of state AGs, state attorney generals, from prosecuting terrorist suspects? Political interference, maybe? Or what do you think?
I don't know what really, because is the problem, but I know that sometimes when these people are arrested, the police demand that they should be taken to Abuja. And usually that's where it ends. I remember the former governor of Plateau State complaining that when they arrest terrorists, those who are involved in the killings that happened many years ago in Plateau State, were usually sent to Abuja, and that from there they will be released. So I don't know any attorney general in a state who has terrorists who in their cells, police cells in those states, who are reluctant to put them on trial. Maybe in some states in the north. In any case, it's in the north that such cases are rampant. But I still agree with him that if there are attorney generals who are refusing, maybe out of fear or political pressure, to put terrorists on trial, then such attorney general, upon their when their tour of duty comes to an end, the the umbrella body of Nigerian lawyers should be able to mete out punishment to them. Yes, that's the NBA. Should be able to mete out such attorney generals should be disciplined. There is no reason, and I want to also recall that the United Arab Emirates made arrested some sponsors of Boko Haram, sent them to Nigeria, and we refused to put them on trial through the last administration, for reasons best known to the Attorney General at the time. It was under this current Attorney General that we began to try those people. So why? It's even discouraging a country that has made those people available to you, made their names available, and arrested them on your behalf. It discourages them if at the end of the day you refuse to put them on trial and make them pay for their sins. So I agree with Falana saying that this is a very serious matter. We cannot defeat terrorism if terrorists go unpunished. We can't, because others will feel encouraged. We need to put them on trial and make them pay for their sins. I saw a video of Boko Haram terrorists arrested by Chad, and they were sentenced to death and put to death immediately. No wasting of time. But in our country, we arrest people for donkey years. Justice is not served on them, and ultimately they even go free. It's a national disgrace, and we cannot deter terrorists and other criminals when they don't see their mates guilty of the same crime get punished for perpetrating such crimes. We have death penalty, and we don't see governors even sign death warrants.
Exactly.
So how would anybody who has committed murder believe that it is a bad thing to do and that he will pay for doing such a thing? When governors are so cowardly that they can't sign death warrant, but some of them can order political thugs to go and beat up their political opponents to death. But you can't sign a death warrant.
Okay.
So there are many reasons we face this problem. There are many reasons, and I think Falana was right on the money by demanding that attorney generals who are too cowardly to put terrorists on trial must be punished. We have to show the world that we do not condone terrorism. But the way to show the world that we do not condone terrorism is not the way we are handling things. And that's why the Americans think that there is a connivance on the part of government when they see that we don't punish.
All right, then. BK, we need to go on this quick break. And when we return, the conversation continues. Don't go away. Back is still Journalist Hangout. I still have Tunde Abaton right here with us. And we also have BKO joining us via Zoom. So the second part of that conversation, the federal government, reinstating commitments to strengthen security around schools. But talk to me, what measures is the federal government planning to implement to strengthen security around the schools?
I think Nigerians have to be reminded that this is not the first time the federal government is trying to do such a thing.
The Safe School Initiative?
In the late 70s.
Oh, okay.
There was a time they sent soldiers and policemen to schools just to guide the proper conduct of students. But now the enemy is without, not the enemy within.
Okay.
Now that the enemy is without, the federal government has to do that in conjunction with the school authorities and based on the environment in which we are talking about. For instance, first of all, let somebody answer the question that how come, who gave the instruction for policemen, for security people to be withdrawn from that Catholic school when those people came to catch a we have to provide answer to that. Except answer is provided to that, other things can happen in the future because somebody somewhere will give a counter directive when those people are posted there to ensure the security of the state. So it's not a question of making declaration, it's a question of making sure that the law or the policy is effective and made to be effective so that students can learn in school without any fear or so. So the government has to make sure that it is effective. It's not a question of making policy statements alone. It has to be effective in guaranteeing that students can stay in school and stay. Can you imagine a situation whereby we have to close down about 41 schools? So it is unfortunate. So it's not a question of declaration of intent. Okay. It has to be done in conjunction with either the local government or all levels of security. Probably when you have civil defense, you have police, you have many other things. That is why Nigeria, in the situation we are in today, we need various levels of policing. Not a question of a federal police, either community policing, integrated state policing, and some other things. These are the things that can ensure that policy is properly implemented. It's not a question of sending, okay, are you going to send soldiers to all schools in Nigeria?
I don't think that's possible.
The police, that is not possible. So let us embrace other levels of policing to ensure that those people posted to such areas, they can do their job very well, and they should be properly supervised. It's not a question of making that thing. It has to be supervised.
All right, BKO, accountability mechanism now, okay? What kind of accountability mechanism should be in place to evaluate, this promised improvements in school safety, apart from the Safe School Initiative?
Yeah, even the basic things that should be in place are not in place. Perimeter fencing. A lot of our schools do not even have perimeter fencing. This is very basic. As you are building schools, you must invest in perimeter fencing. A lot of the schools do not have perimeter fencing. When I went to Edo State to do some investigative work, I discovered that they had to even reclaim some schools from trespassers. Trespassers had encroached into schools. They had to recover some schools from those who had taken them over. That's because basic perimeter fencing was not in place. There's a need for camera surveillance. You need to install cameras in schools so that the schools can be monitored. They can see what's going on in the schools. They can identify threats to security, and even threat assessment has to be a regular thing. I like the fact that in Borno State, when they saw that they could no longer sustain those schools in the hinterland because of security issues, the idea of building those mega schools that can accommodate tens of students, in some cases up to 60, 70 students in a classroom, giant classrooms, they had to start building them. And they relocated some of the schools, like the federal government girls' college in Monguno, for example. They had to relocate it to the state capital. They were not going to make the kind of mistake that they made in respect of Chibok, where they thought that putting a few soldiers in a school was enough security. And when the terrorists came, those soldiers were thoroughly outnumbered. You don't know how many fighters they are bringing. So if we put 10 policemen or 10 soldiers in a place, there's no guarantee that those children will be safe. So schools can be relocated from the hinterland, from places where you can't guarantee security, to the urban centers, to the city center. You also don't need to have boarding facilities in some schools. That's why I'm not happy with them in Kebbi State. Because in such a distant school, you don't have to sustain boarding facilities, because these guys will come in the night. And we don't have enough security men to even put in all of those schools in the right number. So there's a need also to institute the response alert system for staff and students. You do those drills, like the kind of fire drills that we used to do at TVC.
Yes.
You do those drills. Let students know what they need to do when there's this kind of emergency. They have to conduct such regular drills and security assessment at all times. Because if we cannot protect those schools, school enrollment will drop. I remember going to Zamfara State to do an investigative work in respect of an all-girls school that was invaded by bandits. By the time I returned, half of the students had left. Half of them refused to go back to school. So this is what happens when we fail to keep those schools safe. It will seriously affect enrollment figures. And the students who witness that kind of horror, only a few of them will feel like coming back. So we have to keep the schools safe so that the students can feel that, yes, this is a good learning environment, a safe learning environment, and we have to put all those measures in place. Yes, we need physical policemen to help do that job. Okay. But I believe that the era of technology can help us to keep those schools safe, and we'll be able to respond. Once we see that there's a threat to any school, we can respond rapidly. And take control of the situation.
I mean, this is in fact a very, very serious matter. But the thing is, how can the federal government work with the states to ensure, uniform standards for school protection across, those high-risk regions like Niger State, Kebbi State,
You see, like in the northern part of the country where, towns and cities are far-flung to each other. Unlike, let's say, Lagos to Ogun State now, between 2 kilometers, you see town. So we have to devise a special security network. That was why I was talking about the other time about multi-level policing. You cannot just take police or army alone. You have to look at community policing. Because in far places where they're like in the north, if you travel between Kaduna and Zango-Katab now, you probably spend about 4 hours before you get to anywhere, or between Kaduna and Zaria now. So you cannot leave that one to only the conventional police system alone. And now that we are in a serious security situation, state of emergency in the country now with gas, I think the federal government has to involve all the levels, from the local government to the state government to community. To be a community can decide, can serve as a hindrance to security issues, because when they are carried along, they will be able to serve as informants. Intelligence report to security agencies. This job cannot be done alone from the top. Let it be from the bottom.
From the bottom up, to top.
From community to local government to state and to the federal government.
Absolutely. All right, beautiful conversation, gentlemen. Let's move straight